So Tara Grace, if you think about how young people are passionate about a cause or an issue, and they might be drawn to being involved in an activity, like you mentioned, volunteering, is there a way that we can connect to the policy level? So it's about maybe enabling people to question, like, well, why do we have these issues? Why are there concerns? And like dig deeper to get to the root causes. It can be challenging to get there, I think, if we maybe see the surface level, or we want to put a plaster on things really quickly. But policy might be about making the long-term change. So how do we get there? What's that bridge look like, do you think?
So I actually have a couple of different layers to this answer. One, in terms of like making things understandable, or how you sort of access information about policy. I mean, in a really direct sense, that's what Con and I are for. That's what we hope to do. We hope to be that bridge. We kind of want to be that go-between between policymakers and young people, and then communicating both ways, both what young people want to see and then what policymakers are doing to young people, and to kind of facilitate communication between both stakeholders in certain issues. But then if you kind of take Con and I out of the equation, there are other ways of engaging with and understanding policy and decision makers. So, I mean, I cannot stress enough, if you're somebody who is, say, you're 18 and under, get involved in a local youth forum. If you're 18 and above and you're in university or further education college, get involved in your SU. I can't stress that enough. Clearly an individual can go and do their research, and they can write to their TD, or if you're up my way, MLA or MP, and you can engage with them in those formal kind of contexts. But nothing helps you understand a policy or an issue quite like going to an open meeting or attending a wee Zoom call where people are kind of discussing that idea in an informal setting. That's where so much of my passion about issues has come from, and really hearing those ideas bounced off other people. And even if you're looking for like an amazing example of something, I can give two that have recently happened just in the north that I have seen, which is young people in the north. We were the only region, one of the only regions in Europe, and the only one definitely in the history of the UK that had never had any kind of form of regional youth assembly. There was no youth parliament, there was no regional youth group ever. There had just never been one. And that campaign went on for 12 years and had seen different generations of young people come through the doors and add to that discussion. And it recently, is in the last year, finally got approved, and we have a youth assembly now. And that's a sort of vehicle that you can see that young people directly challenging decision makers resulted in an actual tangible outcome. And I can say that for me, I was part of those discussions over 12 years of being part of something and being able to see that outcome happen. And recently as well, you see an MLA up in Stormont has recently brought a bill to the floor of the Assembly about ending period poverty in schools and education colleges. And the girl who went to him with that idea is like 17. And she was inspired by what happened in Scotland, and she contacted her MLA. Or the Secondary School Students' Union of Northern Ireland has recently formed up this way as well, and they've been responding directly to what's been going on in education. And I can't really exaggerate this enough. Nothing shapes policy or makes you understand policy more than literally just going out and joining something. And that sounds really hard, and I get that some people might want to just go and join a group, but there are so many ways to get actively involved with making change and talking to policymakers. And yeah, it's quite a long answer.
No, it's brilliant, and I think as well that idea of things don't necessarily happen overnight. It takes that maybe long-term collective effort together. That's the togetherness piece, isn't it? Because each of us will get tired along the way, but someone else will help and carry the baton for a little bit and pass it back. So we're there to get through. Yeah, well done. Gosh. So I have one last question for Con, and then what we might do is throw it open to everybody, because I'm sure they're burning to say hi. So my last one for Con is about, if you had like one key message for maybe groups in Ireland that are marginalised, that policy just doesn't really respond to them. So they're minority groups. They find that uphill battle really real. Is there a message for them around maybe taking advantage of those kinds of avenues and opportunities to infiltrate and to take the minority issue and make it something that everyone should really care about?
No, completely. It's so important, and we're definitely aware that ethnic minorities or anyone from a minority community can face marginalization, can be vulnerable to that. So it's really important that those voices are included in all our consultations and any kind of dialogue. And we really just have to, if we're in the majority group, we really have to hold space for those kind of voices and make sure that we're like representing them and they have a seat at the table. I know that's really important to us both. Yeah, because any kind of policy we bring in has to be reflective of Ireland and stuff. Am I still? Yeah, okay. Yeah, and I just wanted to say that there's like loads of opportunities for consultation and stuff for young people, and to be encouraged by that. And I know some of those systems can seem a bit abstract and inaccessible, but they really do want to hear from young people. Like I think myself and Tara Grace were at a UN kind of conference recently, and they were saying that a lot of the change is actually driven by young people. So they're very like aware of that, and they want to catch up to movements like the climate justice movement, the Fridays for Future campaigns, and you know, they were very aware of the Black Lives Matter campaign over the summer and stuff, and you know, people power, people taking to the streets and stuff, so they have to catch up to that. So we want them to be responsive to those kind of campaigns. So yeah.
Yeah, so it's worth.
I was going to say directly off the back of Con, that Ireland is not straight white male and Catholic anymore. And the more people that we get into those conversations that are not from those backgrounds, the more rich policy can kind of be, and the more we can carry across messages that aren't traditional inverted commas in this country. Because if we only stick to representing a certain majority, then we're never going to be the progressive kind of country that we want Ireland to be. So keep making sure those voices come through. Myself and Con are always here to be contacted. We have email addresses that we can leave here. It's just Tara@NYCI, Con@NYCI, and then UNYouth@NYCI, I think. But we're always wanting to have conversations with people and find out ways that we can work with you. So get in touch.
Brilliant. Lovely shout out there for the National Youth Council of Ireland, who, I suppose, if you like, host this idea of a UN Youth Delegate. So that's the NYCI piece of the email. Brilliant.